Okay, so this is a key to worksheet factoring number 6. And so these are just polynomials that you're going to factor completely. And so there's a variety of factoring situations here. So number one, so let's number one. So number one, we have 7x squared y minus 28xy squared plus 14xy. So the first thing you're going to do when factoring is to look for a GCF. So the GCF is in this case, you look at 7, negative 28, and 14. So the GCF is 7 in this case. And then if you look at your variable, there's an x in this term. In fact, there are two factors of x here. There's one factor of x here, and there's one factor of x here. So you're going to factor out just one of them. And with regards to y's, there's a factor y here, there's 2 here, and there's 1 there, so you're going to factor out a y. So this is your GCF. So once you find your GCF, it's something other than 1, then you're going to factor it out. So this becomes 7xy times, and then it's just a matter of you using the distributive property. 7xy times x will give you 7x squared y. 7xy times a negative 4. Now you see you factor out the x, that's this. There are two factors here, you're only factoring out one, so you need one more. Always check. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. X, and there's no x here, so you just see an x. And then y times y is y squared. Plus, and then 7 times 2, you've already taken out the factor of x, and you've already taken out the factor of y, so that's all you need. 7xy times 2 is 14xy. And so there's your answer. So that's number one. Number two, we have 25x cubed minus 30x squared minus 20x plus 24. Okay, so now we have a polynomial with 4 terms. And so when you have 4 terms, you want to try grouping. But again, the first thing you need to do is look for the GCF of those 4 terms. And it turns out that the GCF of those 4 terms is 1. So now I'm going to go directly to grouping. So I'm going to group the first 2 and the last 2. And usually for us, that's what's going to work. And so in the first group, I can factor out a 5x squared from the first group. And when you factor out the 5x squared, you're going to say 5x squared times x is 5x cubed. I'm sorry, 5x. 5x squared times 5x is 25x cubed minus, and then 5 times 6 is 5 times a negative 6 is negative 30. I factor out, see I had an x squared here, I factor it out, so I don't have any x's in this term left. So now remember, you always must factor out that sign here, so that's going to be a negative GCF I'm going to factor out. So I'm going to factor out a negative. In this case, it's going to be 4. So I get negative 4 times 5x is a negative 20x. A negative 4 times a negative 6 is a positive 24. Now if you look at these two terms here, you see they have something in common, the 5x minus 6. So you factor it out. So I'm going to factor it out. I get 5x minus 6 times, now when I factor out the 5x minus 6, I'm left with 5x cubed, 5x squared rather, and then minus 4. And so that's the answer to number 2. In number 3, we have x squared plus 10x plus 21. So that's usually the easy kind when you see a 1x squared and when you see a plus symbol, the plus symbol at the last term. All right, so notice though the GCF is 1. The GCF is 1, so that's going to be the easy kind. And so x times x is x squared. The last sign's positive. That means these signs in here are the same. They're both going to be positive. For 21, let's try 3 and 7. And let's put the 3 here, the 7 there. And again, always check, mentally check. X times x is x squared. 3 times 7 is 21. The outer is, remember using FOIL, the outer is 7x. The inner is 3x. When I add them up, I get 10x. Number 4, we have 3x cubed minus 30x squared plus 63x. So in this case, the GCF for this one, let's see, 3, negative 30, and 63, so obviously that's going to be 3. There's an x cubed here. I have 3 factors of x, 2 factors of x, 1, so I'm just going to need 1. So there's the GCF. So let's go ahead and factor out the GCF. So I get 3x times. So 3x times x squared is 3x cubed. Minus 3 times a negative 10 is a negative 30. I'm factoring out one factor of x. I'm going to be left with 1. X times x is x squared. Plus, and then 3 times 21 will give me 63. And I factor out the x, so that's what I have. So now I'm going to factor this part. So let's go off to this side and factor this. So when I factor this, I'm going to get x, the last sign's positive, so that's going to be a good thing. And there, so the last sign's positive, both of these have to be the same sign, but it would be negative, the middle sign. And for 21, let's try 3 and 7. And always check this. X times x is x squared. A negative 3 times a negative 7 is a positive 21. The outer is a negative 7x. The inner is a negative 3x. And you add them up, you get negative 10x. So this I factored correctly. Now remember, though, that's not the answer to this problem, because remember, we factored out 3x. So I'm going to get 3x times x minus 3 times x minus 7. All right, so that's number 4. So let's look at number 5. So in number 5, we have this for number 5. We have 15x squared minus 8x minus 16. So the GCF here is 1. And so let's go ahead and do the two binomials. And for 15x squared, let's try 5x and 3x. So 5x, 3x, let's see, 5x times 3x is 15x squared. Now notice, though, the last sign's negative, so that means these signs in here are going to be different, so keep that in mind. And for 16, there are several possibilities. 8, 2, 4, 4, 16, 1. Let's just try 4 and 4 for right now. Let's put the 4 here, the 4 there. Now, this is what I would do. Rather than just automatically putting a plus and a subtraction, let's think about this. Because I know it's going to be opposites right here. When I say opposite, I mean a positive and a negative. The outer, let's look at the outer. Let me do that here. 5x, 4, and then 3x, 4. So the outer, you see that outer right here would be 20x without a symbol, without a sign. And then this is 4 times 3 is 12x. Now again, you remember those are going to be different, right? So one's going to be positive, one's going to be negative. So if you subtract those, since the signs are different, you subtract those. If you subtract those, you get 8x, and that's what you wanted. But you want 8x to be negative. You want this to be negative. In order for this to be negative, the 20x has to be negative, and the 12 has to be positive. So that means that our signs then should be this. This should be the negative. This should be the positive. So this will be plus, minus. Again, let's double check. 5x times 3x, 15x squared. A positive 4 times a negative 4, a negative 16. The outer is a negative 20x, see right here. The inner is a positive 12x, see right here. When you add them up, you get negative 8x, and that's what you wanted. So that's the answer to number 5. Number 6, we have 9x squared minus 15x plus 4. So again, let's go ahead and notice that the GCF is 1. And so I'm going to factor the two binomials. So let's try, for 9x squared, let's try 3x and 3x. It may not work, but let's just try. The last sign's positive, so again, that's always a good sign. The last sign's positive. That means these signs in here are the same. They're both going to be negative. And for 4, let's try 2 and 2. Let's try 2 and 2 and see if that works. It may not work, but let's just try it. Okay, so let's check it. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. A negative 2 times a negative 2 is a positive 4. Now let's do the outer. The outer is negative 6x. The inner is also a negative 6x, but I get negative 12x. That's not what I wanted. I wanted negative 15x. So let's try something different. So instead of trying 2 and 2, let's try 4 and 1 instead. So 3x minus 4, 1. So let's try that. So let's check it again. 3x times 3x is 9x squared. A negative 4 times a negative 1 is a positive 4. The outer, 3x times negative 1 is a negative 3x. The inner, negative 4 times 3x is a negative 12x. When I add them up, I get negative 15x. And so that's the answer. So the answer is going to be this right here. Okay? All right, number 7. So let's do number 7. So number 7, we have we have 4x squared plus 9x minus 5. And so if I try factoring this, notice that GCF is 1. And so if I factor it, let's try 2x and 2x. And there's only one possibility for 5, and that's 5 and 1. And notice the sign's negative, the last sign's negative. So these signs in here are going to be different. And let's put the 5 here, the 1 there, and see what happens. So let's check it. 2x times 2x, 4x squared. 5 times negative 1, negative 5. The outer is a negative 2x. The inner is a 10x. When I add them up, I get 8x. So that didn't work. So let's switch the 5 and the 1 and see what happens. 2x plus 1, 2x minus 5. And you might say, well, why did you do that? Well, that's true, right? Why did I do that? Because the 2x's are the same. So switching them is going to give us the same thing, except instead of 8x will be negative 8x. So watch. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. Positive 1 times negative 5 is a negative 5. The outer is negative 10x, whereas over here we had positive. You see that? And the inner is 2x, whereas over here we had negative 2x. And this time we get negative 8x. Again, that doesn't work. All right, then you may say, well, instead of trying 2x and 2x, let's try 4 and 1. Okay, let's try 4 and 1. See what happens. So 4xx. For 5, remember we'll plot positive, negative. For 5, let's try 5 and 1. Let's put the 5 here, the 1 there, see what happens. All right, so let's check it. 4x times x, 4x squared. Positive 5 times a negative 1, negative 5. The outer, negative 4x. The inner, 5x. When I add them up, I get x. Okay, not 9x, I get x. So that didn't work. You may say, all right, let's switch the 5 and the 1. Okay, let's switch it. Let's put this, x minus 5, and let's check it. So 4x times x is 4x squared. A positive 1 times a negative 5 is a negative 5. Now let's do the outer and the inner. The outer is a negative 20x. The inner is a positive x. I got negative 19x. So it didn't work either. So this is prime. All right, so prime. All right, so that's number 7. Number 8, let's look at number 8. Number 8, you have 16x squared minus 9. Now the GCF is 1, but in particular, you got to notice that you have two terms here. There's a subtraction in the middle. So you want to see if this is the difference of two squares. So you see a square here, and it is. Because look, I can fill in these parentheses. 4x goes here, and 3 goes here. So this is the difference of two squares. So the answer is going to be 4x minus 3 times 4x plus 3. That's the answer. And you can check it. 4x times 4x, 16x squared. A negative 3 times a positive 3, a negative 9. The outer is a positive 3x. The inner is a negative, the outer is a positive 12x. The inner is a negative 12x. When you add them up, you get 0. And you see, you don't see an x term. There should only be two terms. All right, number 9. Let's talk about number 9. So number 9, we have this for number 9. So we have 8x cubed plus 1. So the GCF is 1, but I want you to notice that this looks like it's the sum of two cubes. So let's see, the sum of two cubes, right? So if it is, that means I can fill in these parentheses. And so for 8x cubed, that's a perfect cube, a perfect cube. So that's 2x. 2x times 2x times 2x is 8x cubed. 1's a perfect cube. It's just 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. So here's my F. Here's my L. And so remember the formula for the sum of two cubes, is F plus L times F squared minus FL plus L squared. That's a formula. And so all you do is just take these two expressions and substitute. So the answer is going to be F plus L, so that binomial times a trinomial. So the binomial will be 2x plus 1, times, and then you take F and you square it. Well, remember, F is 2x. So let's think about this. F times F, so that's 2x times 2x, which is 4x squared. So that goes here, 4x squared. Minus, then I take the product of these. So 2x times 1, 2x. Then I take the last and I square it. Well, that's 1 times itself, 1 squared. So that's 1 plus 1. And so there's the answer. Number 10, finally number 10, the last one. Number 10, we have this. We have 64x cubed minus 27. So I want you to again notice the GCF here is 1. And I want you to notice also that this looks like it's the difference of 2 cubes. So let's see if it is. So let's see if we can fill in these parentheses. So what times itself 3 times is 64x cubed? Well, it's just 4x. What times itself 3 times is 27? Well, it's just 3. And so this is the difference of 2 cubes. So let's use the formula for that. So f cubed minus L cubed. So I'm going to get f minus L, the binomial f minus L, times the trinomial, which is f squared plus fl plus L squared. And so then it's just a matter of you taking 4x for f, and then 3 for L, and then substituting it in there. So the answer is going to be f minus L, so 4x minus 3, times, and then let's think about f squared. So remember, f squared means f times f. Well, f is 4x, right? 4x. So we're going to say 4x times 4x, which is 16x squared. So that goes here. Plus, then you're going to take f and multiply by L. So let's think about what that means. So f times L, right here, f times L. So f is 4x, L is 3, so I get 12x. And then I'm going to take L squared, so that means L times L. Well, L is 3, right? So that's 3 times 3, which is 9. 3 times 3, which is 9. So that goes here. And there's your answer. Okay? So that's the sum of the difference of 2 cubes. Okay, so that is the key to factoring worksheet number 6.